"Hey, step away from that car!" The shout tore through the quiet evening like a siren, sharp, violent, and dripping with false authority. The officer's voice echoed across the parking lot as if it carried the weight of law itself. A black woman, dressed with elegance and power, stood frozen by her own vehicle, keys in hand, her name engraved on the license plate. Yet the cop's fury painted her not as owner, not as respected, not as human, but as suspect. The world stopped, eyes turned, and in seconds, the crowd formed. If you believe justice has no skin color, smash that subscribe button right now, because this is the story of a judge humiliated in public, until truth turned the badge against the hand that carried it. Before we go deep into the story, what country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button now and stay locked in to the very end, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story of racism and arrogance. It's the downfall of a man who thought his badge made him untouchable. Because justice doesn't wear one flag. It belongs to all of us. Her name was Judge Cassandra Reed. 45 years old, she was a woman carved from perseverance, rising from a childhood of struggle into the chambers of justice, where her gavel was both shield and sword. With deep brown skin glowing under courthouse lights, sharp eyes framed by quiet wisdom, and a voice that once calmed juries and commanded prosecutors, she was the embodiment of black excellence. Every decision she made in court carried the weight of integrity. But here, under the glare of parking lot lights, none of that mattered. To this cop, she was simply black. And in his eyes, black equaled criminal. The evening was calm when she left the courthouse, case files under her arm, her tailored black coat wrapped tight against the wind. She approached her sleek black luxury sedan, her pride, bought with her own hard-earned salary, her initials etched into the leather seats. But before she could slide in, the officer appeared. He wasn't calm. He was storm and fire. His boots struck the ground heavy with aggression. He barked at her as though she were a thief in the act, his hand hovering near his holster, his badge gleaming like an unearned crown. In seconds, everything shifted. Shoppers from nearby stores paused. Phones came out. Whispers grew. People saw a scene, but they didn't see truth. To them, the cop's rage gave authority, and her silence painted guilt. The humiliation burned through her veins. She was a judge who had sentenced murderers, defended the Constitution, interpreted the highest laws of the land. Yet here she was, treated lower than dirt in front of a crowd. The officer called in a possible vehicle theft. Sirens wailed in the distance. Backup was on the way. The questions in the crowd sliced like knives. Did she steal it? Why is he yelling at her like that? Who is she? She kept her composure, but inside her chest thundered. She knew too well. One wrong move, one gesture mistaken, and this could end not with humiliation, but with death. Within minutes, 2 more patrol cars screeched into the lot. Flashing red and blue painted her face in cruel colors. The officer who first accused her strutted with pride now, chest puffed, certain that he had caught a criminal. He spoke loudly so the crowd would hear, "We got a stolen car here!" But what he didn't know was that the license plate on that sedan was registered under her name, Cassandra Reed. And more than that, she wasn't just a car owner. She was the judge presiding over the very court his department reported to. Her mind sharpened like a blade. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't beg. She didn't explain. She simply stood there, allowing him to build the rope of arrogance that would hang his own career. He demanded identification. She handed him her license. He sneered, not even noticing that the name on it matched the plate. He mocked her profession when she told him who she was. He laughed. The crowd gasped. The humiliation had peaked. But in that very moment, truth stood ready to flip the script. One officer, younger, more observant, finally glanced at the car records pulled up on the system. His expression faltered. He whispered to the lead officer, pointing to the screen. The car wasn't stolen. It belonged to Cassandra Reed. The mistake wasn't hers. It was his. And the crowd had caught every second on their phones. The scene collapsed like a house of cards. The whispers of the crowd turned from suspicion to outrage. That's her car! He accused her for nothing! Wait, she's a judge? The phones that had once recorded humiliation now recorded injustice. The officer's pride drained from his face as realization set in. But it was too late. The damage was done. His words, his aggression, his arrogance, immortalized in high definition. She didn't explode in rage. She didn't lower herself to his level. With the same calm that had silenced packed courtrooms, she stepped forward, locked eyes with him, and said nothing, because her silence was heavier than his shouting. By the next morning, the videos flooded social media. The headlines screamed, "Black judge accused of stealing her own car." The community roared in anger. Activists demanded accountability. The department scrambled for damage control. And Cassandra Reed? She didn't have to lift a finger. She simply arrived in her courtroom, robe on shoulders, gavel in hand, power intact. Days later, the officer stood in front of a disciplinary board. His record, once clean, was now stained. His career, once secure, was collapsing. Public pressure forced suspension. Internal review recommended termination. Within weeks, the badge he flaunted was gone, and it was his own arrogance that had signed the resignation. This is more than a story about a cop and a car. It's about how racism humiliates in seconds, but destroys itself in the end. Judge Cassandra Reed didn't just survive the moment. She turned it into a mirror that forced the system to see its own ugliness. And the cop who thought his badge gave him power learned the truth. A badge without integrity is nothing but a piece of metal. If you felt the weight of this story, don't just scroll away. Hit subscribe, because more stories of justice and truth are coming. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever faced humiliation that turned into your strength? Share it. Because this channel isn't just about stories, it's about a community that believes dignity cannot be stolen. Justice may bend, but it will never break. And when you come back for the next story, remember, what is done in the dark will always be dragged into the light.